I am so pleased to welcome this extraordinary group of writers and producers for our panel discussion, Tales from the Field. A couple of years ago, I began to wonder, what would it take to inspire more global health storylines? And I realized there is nothing more powerful than direct experience. So I began pitching to our funders the idea of taking writers and producers to India and South Africa. They said yes, and that's what enabled us to take this first trip overseas. We spent a week in Johannesburg and a week in Mumbai.
We saw all these amazing things.
It was a profoundly moving trip.
The experience for me completely overwhelmed me.
It was really quite a transformative experience.
I just couldn't stop writing.
It was an intensely spiritual experience for me.
People felt filled with purpose.
It's a level of sort of courage that we don't see in just ordinary life.
They're wonderful stories that I think the entire world needs to hear.
This panel is part of a larger endeavor to bring writers and producers to developing countries to learn about global health in a local context. As you will hear, it was a truly inspiring and compelling experience.
I've been processing this trip since it happened. I couldn't even talk to my husband about it for a week after I got home.
But, I mean, we were led into places that most tourists would never see and maybe perhaps don't ever want to see. We were privy to stories that no one would ever hear.
When I got to India, I was just beaten around my head by everything. The huge amount of people, the immense amount of poverty that you see, the country itself.
There's a little bit over 20 million people. 60% of them are living in slums.
We spent many hours at a city dump among dump dwellers who live off of city garbage.
And it was the largest dump in Asia, I think second largest in the world. And an entire city, a slum, was built around this, and the main industry was climbing up into the dump and finding stuff that you could then get back, fix up, and sell. Plastic bottles, electronics, whatever it was.
We were in daycares for 1 to 3-year-olds who are all suffering from malnutrition, and if they don't get this problem solved by the time they're 3, it's over for them. They're not going to see adulthood.
We met children 8 to 14 years of age who are heads of households, who are raising younger siblings and caring for disabled parents.
And some of them talked about being bullied and how you have to stand up to the bully and you have to take care of your, friends and all that. And one of them stood up and said, "I've learned that when you are raped, you should tell someone." And these are middle schoolers. And
these women get married at 15. They're having children by 16. They expect to be beaten by their husbands and their in-laws. They expect to have far too many children, and that's just the way of life.
I was just blown away how much American dollars really are making a difference on the ground level.
The amount of poverty is vast. But the kids, the people, were so resilient, so proud.
We met people who nearly died from a combination of HIV and tuberculosis. But thanks to innovative programs, mobile clinics, and compassionate health workers, they received life-saving treatment and came back to help others find the will to live and even thrive.
But there was one place we went, and it was an after-school program for kids. If you look at these girls, you're pretty sure most of them have been sexually assaulted. And yet there they are in their school uniforms with these people who are helping them feel good about themselves and helping them figure out how they can have purpose in their community.
We met over 100 children rescued from sex slavery.
There's this guy by the name of Uncle. He takes these children out of the brothel and puts them in kind of a safe house. And I think he has 270 or 265 of these kids. Some of them have been with him for years and are now going, graduating from high school and stuff like that.
We went to a brothel in India, and we went accompanied by some NGO workers most of whom are former sex workers themselves, and they're trying to help their peers who are still working, who still have the misfortune to be working in this industry, to protect themselves from HIV.
The things that struck me most of all the things we saw was this amazing sense of community from the health workers. the fact that they can get up every day and do this job is astonishing to me.
I was talking to this one doctor and I said, how do you do this every day? Because what I found was that they were excited to come to work. They couldn't wait to get to work. They were smiling and happy and uplifted themselves. And she said, I changed so many lives every single day. How could I be depressed? You know,
being in television, I feel now this amazing responsibility because everybody there watches television. Even in the slums, they all pirate Power, and the kids are sitting in front of TV. So,
like, if there's TV here, there's nowhere TV isn't.
We were as far away from Hollywood as we could get, and these kids knew every episode of Max's show.
If you look at the ratings in South Africa, Grey's Anatomy, I think, is like always at the top. You know, it's all Western. You know, it's all shows that are produced here, that are written by you guys, that are produced by us.
To have the kind of power to send health messages, things like, you know, washing your hands after the bathroom will save people's lives. Malnutrition is not something to joke about, and that birth control is not a political issue or some sort of stump speech. It's a women's health issue. It saves these women's lives if they can space out these children a little bit and take care of themselves as well as their families.
You go into a situation and you let the story find you. And I certainly did find that. I really did. Because you go in with preconceived notions and sort of a general knowledge. There's a happiness there and a joyfulness there that I would not have thought to write.
To actually see it and to experience it takes you just to a much deeper place, which I think informs you and informs your writing.
I hope to have some of these stories showing up this season in private practice. That's my goal.
I have this new pilot on Cartoon Network, and they're inventors, and they can change the world. All these kids who tune in and watch, where they could watch something like that and maybe find a way to change the world that they live in.
But I am now on a new show called Touch for Fox, and it's luckily it's a show where we're going to tell stories that take place around the world. So I have immediately been pitching Africa stories.
The one thing that we're unable to do is change the beginning of the story of the global health issues that seem to be this immense storm rolling toward mankind. Now, what we can do is we can influence or actually change how this story ends. And I think that's really why we're all here today.
So it really made you think about what is sufficient. You know, how much can you be happy with, and that sort of thing.
So what I really was struck by was how people felt filled with purpose, and that people who have purpose are not whiny and they're not depressed. And that's something that I've tried to bring back with me to Los Angeles, because I think we all, you know, we get a little whiny about our jobs and our lives and everything else. And so I actually was really struck by that idea of having a purpose-filled life. If I can have a purpose to my writing, I think, you know, I will feel much better about myself.
As outwardly depressing as something is, if you actually look at, you know, sort of past that to the kind of willfulness and the community that's built in spite of all the obstacles, that's what I'll take with me.
I promise you, if you were ever to go to Mumbai, much like everybody here, there would be nothing on your mind but to try and figure out ways to illuminate these stories, because they're wonderful stories that I think the entire world needs to hear.